Hi, this is Grace.
This is Susma.
And this is episode 2 of Tell Me More. We're going to be covering navigating the first date. Okay, Susma, how do you usually prepare for a first date? Okay.
So, for me personally, I think I've went on so many dates. I'm 24. You're 20 what? You're 21.
Hello.
And so, hi. So I think preparing for your first date, honestly, just wear something comfortable in terms of like outfit and just be excited to meet someone, be open about it too. I don't know, like advice is to just wear a confident outfit.
Yeah,
Honestly.
something that you feel good in.
Yeah.
Because obviously you want to feel confident,
Mm-hmm.
but don't try to be someone you're not. Yeah.
And if you're going on a night first date, as opposed to coffee or gelato, if you need to take a shot, take a shot.
Yeah, sometimes it helps. I've taken quite a few shots before.
Take 4 shots. Maybe Applebee's.
Okay, don't do that.
I'm kidding. So 2 advice from me would be just to wear a confident outfit that makes you feel comfortable, confident, and then number 2, hygiene. Please smell good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Making sure you are clean and they're clean.
So, yeah. And then what are some good locations for our first date? We've already talked about this in episode 1.
Like coffee shops. I feel it. So coffee shops for us, we always talk about this, or like ice cream. It's a great date because first of all, it's cheap, and then like you can make it short, you can make it long. So depending on how the date is, and you can always like go do something else after if it's really going well, like go get lunch or dinner or walk around or
drinks.
Yeah, something like that. So I think it's just a very good first date because it's public usually, and
you're not gonna get killed.
Most likely if you're smart about it. But it's just you don't have to be like, oh, this is terrible, I'm leaving. Like you can be like, hey, plan on an hour, and if you are not feeling it after that time frame, you can be like, hey, so I really have to go. But if you are, you can be like, is there any way that you have more time? Like I'd still like to hang out and see you. So it's very easy to either reject or make it longer,
Yeah, I completely agree. I remember I got coffee with this guy, I think 3 months ago, and the conversation, we were like vibing, right? And we didn't want to end the date, so he was like, do you want to like get dinner later? Or like, do you want to get dinner or something like that? And I was like, oh, I really like that. I like the fact that he just made the date longer.
Yeah.
Because I wanted that too.
Well, I've had quite a few like coffee or ice cream dates, and like like I've had some that were like 30 minutes. Like
share that. Share that experience.
Basically, I just met a guy, and our conversations, like he was just so hard to talk to.
Was it? I'm kidding.
No, it was not him. But it was just very hard to talk to. Like the banter was not there. Like it felt very like one-sided, and it just was a lot of energy on me. And I was like, hey, like it was really nice getting to meet you, but I think I should go. And it was, like it wasn't like a terrible date, but like it wasn't good. It wasn't like a date that I'd be like, oh, it's so great, so I just ended up leaving because I wasn't necessarily having fun. But then I've also had like a coffee date where we were there for like 3 hours.
Oh, 3 hours?
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because I've had a date with this guy. We got drinks, and the first 20 minutes of the date was like just horrible. It was so awkward. The guy was so awkward. I was just like, oh my gosh. I was super tired because I had a long day that day, and I agreed to go on this date with this guy, and I was just like so done, and I couldn't even act. I wasn't even acting like I was happy or I wanted to be there. But the interesting thing is, like, after 20 minutes, maybe it was the drinks or something, but like we just opened up a little bit more and the guy just became a little less awkward and stuff like that. So I feel like obviously you can, have an awkward first date. For me personally, I
Mm-hmm.
still go on a second date if I see there being a little chance of us connecting.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, people are going to be nervous. People are going to be
Yeah.
awkward.
I've gone on second dates with
Yeah.
people that I necessarily wasn't like our first date wasn't like the most thrilling or like the
Yeah.
best,
Mm-hmm.
but if they seem interested and willing to put an effort and
It's the effort.
like the effort, I'm willing to get to know them.
Yeah.
And I think it's just very important, like as long as like the date's not terrible or like it's very obvious you're not connecting at all, like maybe just giving them a chance because first dates can be so nerve-wracking, and a lot of people on app are like maybe just getting back out there and stuff. So it's like, well, yeah, but I wasn't awkward, I don't think. But some people like have been in relationships for a long time and then like they finally decide to get back out there enough. So like they don't know how to navigate it. Like it's really nerve-wracking.
But the thing is, my delusional self, when I see a guy who's awkward on a first date, that means that he's interested. Does that make sense? Like, if he's a little nervous and awkward, then I take that as a sign that he's like nervous because it's me.
Okay, sometimes it can be, or sometimes they can just be like uncomfortable. Yeah. So it's like a mix of both. I think
it's because I called him out and I asked him if he had ADHD.
No, that's how I have ADHD and I
do too.
I go off on tangents. Like if I'll be telling a story about one thing and if I connect somehow to some other story, I go off. So I get like, especially when I'm nervous or with new people, I'm just like, I'm a yapper. I'm such a yapper. But just went on a tangent right there. But anyways, I think it just kind of depends, and I think always checking in, like, hey, like, are you good and stuff, like, is always important. Like, if you can't really tell where they stand, because you give them a chance to vocalize how they feel, just and make sure you're not, you're coming like trying to make them comfortable as well.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's not like. First dates are just full of awkwardness and nervousness.
It is, but I think like if they just seem very like unraveled and like nervous, like just making sure that you're like checking in and everything's okay, because sometimes like you might be doing something that makes them uncomfortable and they're not sure how to say it or something, and you just want to make sure they're having a good time as well. And it honestly can make the date better too.
Yeah, or the person can just be awkward. Anyways, so what are some red flags to watch out for before agreeing? What are some red flags to watch out for before agreeing to a first date?
I think so it depends on like really what you're looking for.
Yeah.
So if someone's like straight up just like they'll like talk to you and then fall off the radar.
Yeah.
And like it's only you putting in the offer, like, oh, let's go out, and they're like, I'm busy, or let's go out. Like if they don't seem like they want to go on a date as badly as you, honestly, like why should you go on a date? Because I think it's just gonna be like a waste of energy, and they're probably not going to be as exciting or as fun as you think they'd be. Like I've had a few occasions where I feel like I definitely like chased the guy and then we went on a date and it's actually turned out okay, and like we had a little bit of fun, but usually it ends up where like I just feel very like stupid. I'm like they don't want to be here, and then like it's just very inconsistent, and then I think you get confused because
So just his effort. If you see effort from his end,
you want equal effort. And it's like, even like I get that not everyone has like the same communication styles and
Yeah.
stuff, but like as long as he shows you that he wants to see you, like if he's asking you out or being like, I'd love to meet you,
Yeah.
or it just seems like he is trying to make time to see you,
Mm-hmm.
that is a very green flag in my book. But if
Yeah.
he keeps like bailing or can't find time ever, and again, like we went over this on our last episode, uh it's they're usually just talking to you because they're bored or you're a
Yeah.
backup, and I think it's not really fair to yourself to like
Yeah.
entertain that.
Mm-hmm. And I think what are some red flags to watch out for before agreeing to a first date? If that guy's just like, come over.
Yes, yes. Unless it's like what you're looking for.
Yeah. I
But
mean, if it's like, if you're looking for a hookup, that's fine.
yeah, but
That's
if
usual.
he just like wants you
Yeah.
to come over to his place, he probably just wants to fuck.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, if that's what you're looking for, great. But if not, like, just avoid that because no, it's just not it. Like, their only interest in you is physically.
Yeah. I think, yeah. Completely agree. So, two red flags to watch out for would be if he's showing enough effort. And the second one would be if he invites you over to his place on like the first or the second date, red
No,
flag.
red flag. Yeah.
So moving on to during the date. So during the date, what are some good conversation starters? Or what are some good conversation like ideas? How do you know if the conversation's going well?
Usually, I always start with just like asking them about their lives. Like,
Yeah.
what do you do for work? Are you going to school or like where are you from? You know, the basics. But also
Yeah.
just asking.
What's your favorite color?
I feel like that's low key an awkward question.
I'm kidding. I was kidding.
I hope I was like I hope you are. Um, but just like really just talking about like what asking them what their ambitions and goals are in life are
Yeah.
I think are very fun and like questions that are they're able to go into depth into.
Yeah.
Because I feel like those are very important if
Mhm.
you're trying to find someone to maybe eventually be with
Mhm.
because you want them to also align with what you want in your life, and
Mhm.
it's just you want to be inspired as well.
Yeah.
So
So
just like asking them about what they
what
want,
they do,
what
their
they do,
ambition.
ambitions,
Um,
and like if you have any like funny questions or
Mhm.
something, like just I think banter and
Yeah.
jokes are always oh my gosh, my voice. Are just always really fun too,
Yeah.
and it really just sets a mood and sees it shows if you can like actually just have a good time and connect with that
Yeah.
person like naturally. I usually just like share the most bizarre stories, and if they judge me or are like weird about it,
Yeah.
I'm like okay. But like usually I think sharing something about yourself like crazy or kind of embarrassing opens them
Yeah.
up too. So it's like not necessarily a question to ask, it's just like okay, like I have a funny story,
Yeah.
and then they open up too usually.
I think for a conversation on the first date, it's either very natural or like you have to sort of force yourself to have
Mhm.
a conversation with a person. But at the same time, like I'd mentioned before, first dates are always like nerve wracking. So the first 20 to 30 minutes of you talking to that person over coffee or gelato, if it feels forced or if you're trying to just like, continue the conversation, if the other person's not asking you questions,
Yeah.
I think that could be like a red flag. But at the same time, I usually give people the benefit of the doubt on the first date because we're also all like we're nervous. We're all nervous, right?
Yeah.
But conversation should flow if you guys are like compatible and if you guys have similar interests or hobbies that you guys can talk about. And I feel like that shows
Mhm.
if you're going to, end up on a second date or if you
Mhm.
guys are compatible in the long run.
And like again what you said, like you don't want to just like have them talk all about themselves. Like you need to make sure you're not talking about yourself the whole time too.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it is definitely a nervous tick that I feel like I can go into sometimes when I'm
Yeah.
nervous, but
Mhm.
just kind of keeping yourself in check. Like if you notice, just be like, I'm like, then ask them and try to get them to talk to you.
Yeah.
But if they're like not trying to conversate, they either might just be nervous or not that interested. So
Yeah.
it's honestly just like questions that you think are important,
Mhm.
and also questions that basically are getting to know them,
Yeah.
and kind of just on their response and how they communicate with you can really just show if you guys are compatible or if they're
Yeah.
interested. So I think honestly, just at the end of the day, it's just important questions to you that you'd like to get to know about them.
Yeah. And banter is really, really important too. Like, if you can't have fun, I think on the first date, if a guy makes me laugh, that's like the most green flag. You know, if you can make me laugh on the first date and we're getting along without both of us having to try to make this conversation flow, I think that's a green flag. So,
No, funny guys are the best.
yeah, yeah.
Like everyone wants to laugh and have like a good time. Like
Hmm.
my best dates, I literally like go home and my like cheeks are sore from like laughing and
Yeah,
smiling the whole time.
yeah.
So
It's so rare though. It's so rare to have dates where you meet a person who you're just like so comfortable with and it's just easygoing. It's very difficult, I think.
yeah, I think the best way to be comfortable with people
Mhm.
though on dates is just being like completely comfortable with yourself.
Yeah.
Because I think like if you have like any insecurities or like worried about what they're gonna think about you, like the
Yeah.
real you, then you're probably going to have like a harder time connecting.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's, yeah, it's normal to be nervous. So
Yeah,
if the conversation's just a little awkward, it's fine. But if that person isn't like listening to you or asking you questions, red flag.
such a red flag.
So just in order to have like good conversations, listen actively and make sure that you're asking questions, like you said,
Mhm.
that allows the other person to talk more in depth about themselves and their ambition. So what are some body language you should be aware
Oh,
of?
I love body language.
Yeah.
Um, honestly, like psychologically, like if they are, like if their legs crossed towards you, or it literally is. I've used to like study this. Like
Yeah.
it's like if they're like leaning in like
Mhm.
closer to you, then it usually means that they're interested. But
Mm.
if they're like usually like closed off and like kind of like pulling away from you,
Yeah.
it means usually that they're a little uncomfortable or something.
Mm.
And sometimes like like people like if they look relaxed, they usually
Mhm.
are relaxed, and that means that like they're comfortable. So it's
Yeah.
just kind of like making sure you can read the situation, because if they look tense and like nervous, they probably
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
But like you can I've like been able to tell when people aren't interested by body
Yeah.
language, because like like I'm sitting here like
Yeah.
they
And they're
probably
like,
they're like or like um,
they're like,
they're
ah!
just like on the other side of their chair trying to
Yeah.
not be near you, or like
Yeah.
just kind of like stiff.
Mhm.
It's just I think you'll be able to tell.
Yeah.
Like you just have to, because like just think about what you do when you're
Yeah.
interested. Like I when I'm talking to someone, I'm always leaning in,
Yeah.
or I like subconsciously just kind of like get
Mhm.
like
Get
lean
closer to the
closer to
person.
them,
Mhm.
and I'm usually relaxed if I feel comfortable. So
Yeah.
I think body language and like eye contact and just
Mm.
reading their like facial
Yeah.
expressions are very important, as well as like listening to what they have to say.
Yeah, I completely agree. If I'm like leaning in and if I'm actively listening to you as opposed to like looking around,
Yeah.
and if I'm laughing at your stupid comments, if I'm laughing at your stupid comments and just like your jokes that aren't that funny that I'm interested, and if I'm also asking you questions, that shows that I'm interested. So
Mhm.
that would be, those are my body language to show someone that I'm interested on a first or second date. And I think from guys, eye contact is really sexy and important.
I feel like I mean, at least from my experience, I feel
Yeah.
like guys are a lot better at eye contact when they like a girl.
Really?
Yeah, like I've had a lot of guys like I'm not saying it's for everyone because
Yeah.
it's very intimidating.
Yeah.
But when a guy likes me, like they're able to keep the eye contact, and
Mm.
I have a hard time with that. And I
Mm.
know a lot of my friends do. Like, so I think honestly, like it's not always like 100%.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't. It just kind of like again, like if you're feeling
Mm-hmm.
a little off, just make sure you're like asking them like, "Hey, is everything okay?" Whatever. And like if they start acting weird or like if they stop like texting you or something after the date,
Yeah.
then like that's an answer in itself.
Yeah.
And it just kind of yeah, just have to read the situation.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Um, let's see. Oh yeah. So I think what were the top things? Eye contact. If he's asking you questions and actively listening to you, if they're like closer to you, faced, your way, they're interested. But if they're like looking around and like not paying attention to what you have to say, then they're not interested.
Yeah, like,
And if they don't text you after the first date to plan the second date, then they're not interested.
like
So,
sometimes it's not immediately after, but I feel because I've gotten some like a few days after.
yeah.
But if you text them like, "Hey, tonight was great," and they're like, "Yeah,"
Yeah, or they just like it, they're not interested.
yeah, they
but-
usually want to keep the conversation flowing or be
Mhm.
like, "Hey, when can I see you again?"
Yeah. So ask me that question because that's my question.
How do you handle awkward silence?
So there was this one time when I went on a first date with this guy, and this was the guy that I was referring to a couple of minutes ago, but it was like the most awkward date that I've ever been on. But like the guy was hot. The guy was really hot. And so I stayed for the first 20 to 30 minutes of the date because the guy was hot. But the conversation was so bad. It was like so bad. I was fucking forcing it, and I could also tell that he was forcing it. But like we could both tell that we were like mutually attracted to each other physically. But the conversation was just really hard. And so in the middle of the day, I literally just asked him if he had ADHD because he was just like. And now I look back at it, don't do that, right? But I did because I was just so tired. I had a long day that day, and I agreed to a date at like 8 p.m. or something like that. And I was just looking around, and I was drinking my drink, and I just wanted to leave. But how I handled it, honestly, I literally, what did I say? I just started asking him some random like fun questions because I didn't want the date to be boring. And I explicitly said, this is so awkward. This conversation's so awkward. And I don't know if you're supposed to say that out loud when you're having an awkward time.
You can.
But I did. I was like, holy shit, this is so awkward.
Why
are you so... I asked him.
I think it helps. I've literally done that before. I've literally done that.
I straight up asked him in the middle of like drinking my drink. I was like, why are you so awkward? This is so bad. But like he could tell that I was just like kind of joking and stuff like that. So I think it got better. But
no, I usually, if something's awkward, I usually call it out for what it is.
Yeah.
And like they're obviously like hurt or like offended by it.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of just shows that they're probably like a little not confident and like
but he took it like a champ. So I think that's why I was attracted to him.
Yeah, it's just like I think I'm the type of person that I'm really do like call things out. Yeah. So I'm like, if it's awkward, I'm gonna say it's awkward.
I can't keep it in.
Yeah, with my ex, like our first date was super awkward.
Yeah.
And I was just like like I was like, this is so awkward. Yeah. He goes, yeah. And so it's just like sometimes it kind of makes things like a little less awkward because you're both like, okay, yeah, we're both feeling that way.
It's clear. But yeah, I think handling awkward first dates, start asking each other like spicy questions if the other person feels like confident or like comfortable enough. That's what I did. We were just like, oh, just spicy questions. And then just, I don't know, like get more drinks.
I just usually
take 5 shots.
I feel like if something's like awkward, I just share like a funny story about myself, like something that's just like this person is probably either gonna think I'm really weird or just like appreciate that like I'm comfortable telling them that.
Yeah.
And it makes them usually more comfortable. I think it really does help.
Yeah. So how do you gracefully end the date?
Gracefully, I usually just say I'm like, hey, like I've had fun, whatever,
Yeah.
or thanks for taking the time to meet me, but it's like time I have to go. Like I have work tomorrow, or I have something else going on.
Yeah.
Just things like that, or it's just kind of like you don't have to lie to them necessarily, but you can just be like, hey, like this was great,
Yeah.
but bye.
Yeah. Yeah.
I usually just say I have something else going on or I have to be somewhere
Yeah.
and just thank them for meeting
Yeah.
me.
Just I had a great time. Thanks so much for meeting with me.
Yeah. Even
Get home safe.
Yeah.
Get home safe.
If they even if I didn't have a great time, I'm not gonna tell them. I'm not gonna be like, oh, I had a great time if I didn't. I'll just be like, thank you for meeting me. Like I really appreciate it. Just make sure like you are showing them that like you appreciate that that they showed up and
You're
that
respectful.
you both took the time to meet each other.
Yeah. How would you know if you should ask for a second date?
How should you know?
Yeah.
I think if like the first date you either went really well or you just like could tell that you both are interested in each other and you think you should both get to know each other. Like a funny story, like with my ex, our first date was so bad. Like really embarrassing for me. Like it was just like it was really, really bad. And I like it was at the end of the date that we just like were able to connect a little bit, but I wasn't sure if I would ever get a second date.
If you would ever get a second date, or if you would ever.
I didn't know if we would like go out again because like I had a fun time, but I was like very embarrassed about the situation. And I didn't want to like I was like, you know what, if he doesn't want to reach out, like that's fine. But then he ended up reaching out and we went on a second date and that one was like really good because we kind of got the awkwardness out of the way.
Yeah.
But I think just like just looking at the date and reflecting and being like, were we able to connect at all? Did they seem like they were still interested? Like, because again, like everyone can be awkward or nervous. So I think it's just being able to read the situation.
Yeah, I think for me, like I said, I give people the benefit of the doubt. So if it was like the worst date of my life, then obviously I wouldn't go on a second date. But this is something that I've been recently working on. But when I go on a first date, and if I don't have chemistry with the person that I'm on a first date with, I don't really I don't really regard that. If that makes any sense. Like I still go on a second date to get to know that person a bit more and to kind of see them in a more comfortable situation, I guess. But yeah, just I think I would go on a second date if like the first date wasn't the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, something that I've learned recently is like the spark or like the excitement isn't always real. It's kind of just your nervous system being like excited about something new, and sometimes like that's not the healthiest thing for you.
That wouldn't like end up in a healthy.
I think usually if the first date didn't go like poorly, I don't usually reach out for a second date if I wasn't like very thorough. But if they asked me to go on a second date and like I wasn't, I like didn't have a bad time, I usually say I'd be down. But if I'm interested, I always ask for a second date. And so I think it's just about like if you're willing to see that person again, like if they reach out to you or like if you really want to see them again, like making the move yourself.
I think let's see. Just giving the person another chance. I think nothing can go wrong. If the second date is still like not good, then you can like make that choice. But I feel like first dates are usually just full of, like I said before, a little bit of awkwardness, a little bit of nervousness, and sometimes that doesn't mean that you guys wouldn't be compatible in the long run.
And a lot of first dates are with like complete strangers.
Yeah.
And like if it's not a complete stranger, like it's going to be awkward because it's like a new dynamic. But so I think it's just being able to reflect on how you really are feeling
Yeah.
and, deciding on what you want.
How should you follow up after the first date?
I always again like thank them
Mhm.
for their time and meeting me. If I had a great date, I will
Yeah.
be like, "Hey, I had a really great time and I'd
Mhm.
love to see you again if that's something you're interested in."
Yeah.
And, like usually they'll be able to be like, "Yes, I'll text you," or like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I had fun, but like I don't know if this is what I'm looking for."
Mhm.
It's just kind of easy
Yeah.
to navigate how they're feeling as well
Mhm.
as if you will probably see them again. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And to conclude this episode, we're just going to share a little story about our first dates or like our best first dates. So you can go first.
Oh my gosh, one of my best first dates.
Mhm.
Um, one of my best first dates.
You're like none.
It's been a minute. There was one time that like I got invited to a like coffee shop
Okay.
and we just like immediately clicked. Like we just
Mhm.
had very similar personalities, like similar banter, like
Mhm.
funny everything. And we had like mutual friends
Mhm.
and everything, so it was just very I like you. But we had mutual friends, so it was
Mhm.
just like we had a lot to talk about
Yeah.
and similar interests, and we ended up going to get food after,
Yeah.
and then we just like went and rode like scooters downtown, and it was just really it was just a really good time because I think we were just very comfortable with each other,
Mhm.
and there wasn't very many expectations afterwards
Yeah.
because I think we both had like we both had this was right after I
Uh-huh.
graduated high school, so we both had like things coming at the end of the summer,
Yeah.
and we weren't looking for anything like serious, so it was just a great date that was like a great memory,
Mhm.
and we had a amazing connection,
Yeah.
and I still remember it, and because I had no expectations there, like I
Yeah.
don't think of it bitterly at all.
Yeah. I think along the same lines of having no expectations, I remember just, okay, this is really bad, but I just hit up this random guy that I'd matched on Hinge. This was like 4 or 5 months ago. And I was like, let's meet up. Because I had the worst date the date before.
Yeah.
So I was on a date. It was one of the worst dates. And I was like, you know what? I'm not ready to end my night. And so I hit up this guy and I was like, hey, do you want to meet up for like a drink or something like that? And he was like, yeah, sure. Let's meet up. And then we met up and it was just so easy. There were so many things in common between him and I, and he just made me laugh. I was like laughing throughout the whole night. Was he the hottest person I've dated? No, but he made me
Mhm.
laugh and he was so cute. And I was just like, come here. I was just like the entire night, I was just like, ha 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 ha.
No.
So it was like the one of the most memorable nights, and I think we went over to his place after. We didn't fuck or anything, but we just continued to talk about like the things that we liked and our hobbies and like etc. Just all the fun
Mhm.
stuff, and it was just so easy. And at the end of the night, I was like, oh, like I'm tired, I'm ready to go home, but I was still so interested. But
Yeah.
I was tired, but yeah, it was one of the best dates I think in the recent couple of years.
I feel like honestly the best dates that I've ever been on with
Yeah.
are like people that I initially wasn't the most attracted to because
Yeah.
like I had actually gotten to know them,
Yeah.
and like I instead of just like wanting them because I'm like, oh, they're so hot,
Yeah.
like I
Yeah.
think like I was attracted. I became more attracted to them than I ever
Mhm.
was with like just someone that was like physically attractive.
Yeah. Just make us laugh.
Yeah, so I think I'm not saying that like I've had all my bad dates were with attractive
Yeah.
people, but
Yeah.
like some of the best people that I've ever been out with or like had dating experiences were people that I initially was not interested in at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
So,
I think just going on a date with no sort of expectations and just being open to getting to know the person genuinely is what will make it a good date.
yeah, just being like you.
Yeah.
Because I think if you're trying to be someone else, like
Mhm.
it's gonna be very stressful, awkward. Like you're not gonna be able to banter or
Mhm.
have like good conversations, like good meaningful conversations with that
Yeah.
person.
Yeah. Completely agree. And so to conclude this episode, let's see.
Bad dating experience?
No, good dating
Oh,
experiences.
good.
Yeah.
Only
Yeah, you
good?
can be like as
Oh.
in like you can ask the audience to share their good dating experience or good first date.
I should tell them to share that.
Yeah. So as in like in the comment section or like DM us your one of your greatest first dates.
Yeah, if you have any great experiences that you'd like to share about your first dates, we'd love to hear about it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have any questions or if you have any questions or any topics that you'd like us to go over on, please DM us and we'd love to work with you or lab. So,
Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next Sunday at noon. Bye guys.
bye.